Alright, I think we are finally live after what feels like an extremely long wait here. It is finally time for Season 4 here at the ISRL Division 2 Championship, as it is now called Division 2. Hello and welcome to the Russian Grand Prix. I am Fallen Monkeys, joined in the commentator's booth by ISRL Asunik as we are just loading into short qualifying. And tell me, Asunik, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How you been?
It's great. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Getting excited to start the qualifying session, get this preseason event underway here at the Russian Grand Prix. I'm noticing only 14 drivers on the grid, potentially a few more joining in as this qualifying progresses. But I'm seeing a lot of returning faces, but there are some new faces as well. Just as we're waiting and seeing the first few drivers coming out on the grid, one of which we're seeing on the screen is Faxland. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Faxland, other than he's here driving the Haas car for the Tier 2 Championship. So, Sunik, do you have any insight on Faxland or on potentially some of these other drivers that we should be keeping an eye out for here in this preseason event?
I have not honestly seen Faxland race, but obviously if Jordan's putting it together, he's obviously a trustworthy driver, and obviously to be getting the go-ahead here, Tier 2, oh sorry, Division 2, it's going to take a minute to get used to that. Yeah, that's saying something, and also we got the likes of D-Morts coming up from Tier 3, making his Tier 2 debut this weekend in the preseason race, so just two new faces as we're waiting, maybe Mavako joining later on in the qualifying session, as you mentioned before. Also, as your Division 3, Tier 3 champion from last season, so he's coming up as well. That's it.
Yeah,
As far
so I
as
mean,
new faces go.
yeah, so a couple new faces, as you mentioned, as we were talking about Faxland, brand new face to the Tier 2, the Division 2. It's going to take me a little bit of time as well to get used to that. So as we mentioned, Faxland, we have D. Morse, who was promoted after having a very strong showing in the Tier 3, Division 3 last season in Season 3. So gonna put his skills to the test here. It's in Division 2. And Mivako, who was the champion for Division 3 last season, not here in qualifying, but hopefully he can get into the lobby in time for the race so he can show what he can do. And from what I do remember, I'm pretty sure Mivako can compete with the likes of Tier 2 at least if the last race or two was something to indicate. I'm seeing ISRL Mushroom joining into the session, so potentially we'll have him reserving. I think I can't remember if he has a full seat or not. But we might see him. We might see an appearance from Mushroom by the time the race starts. But on the screen, we are riding with Faxland to give a little bit of a glimpse as to what he can do. Let's actually jump on board as he's coming through Sector 2 here around the last few turns before the long DRS straight. Bear with me as I actually open my track map so I can give you the turn numbers here. But coming down into the back DRS straight, looks like he's going to have a little bit of help from D-Morts. Whether D-Morts wanted to or not, does get out of the way, but does get a little bit of a little bit of tow from D-Morts. A little bit of a lockup on that inside tire coming through onto the right-hander, but nothing too hectic there. And he's going to come through Sector 3. Going to be one of the first drivers to set a time, so we'll have to see what he's going to do on those soft tires. As it's looking to be a decent lap from what I've seen so far, but we'll find out as he's going to come across the last corner, crosses the line, and it's a 131.279 to kick things off here in this short qualifying session.
As we see Pisass at the end of the session. While we may have just minimal new faces in the tier, we can tell you about some driver moves in different cars, as we saw last time. Laparta was one of those guys, goes P2. Laparta coming over from Williams to take the Haas seat. Michael Fierez, aka LBQ, coming from the Haas to the McLaren. Sebastian Vettel apparently. Yeah, Matt's coming over from Red Bull last season as we see Cruz go third. He'll be staying in the Mercedes. Cohen, I don't quite remember which seat he had, but we can go over guys like Vito, who the defending champion goes P1 in a Red Bull coming over from Ferrari. We
Yep, and
have
that.
Krishna. What was that? Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Vito in that Red Bull car is gonna take a little bit of getting used to personally, as I'm so used to seeing him in that Ferrari car as he's been the last few seasons. But still, it doesn't look like he's losing out on any pace as he's taking that provisional pole position here in these early stages of qualifying.
Absolutely. Nathan JB leaving McLaren to join his CRL teammate AJ Ruhan at Williams, and Dark coming over from a Racing Point to Red Bull. And we see Jordan as well coming from Alfa Romeo to Alpha Tower.
Yeah, so
Those are switches.
a couple switches of seats, and potentially with learning the new cars, learning the new driving styles, well, this could potentially bring in a little bit of a shakeup. I would think with the order, because of course, as the engines are normally on the equal performance, here in the championships, I have noticed every car, in terms of the chassis, the aero has a tiny little bit of difference between how they feel. Like, of course, if you're going to be driving the Mercedes car, it's going to feel a little bit different than, let's say, the Red Bull car, for example. But we'll have to see how some of these drivers will adapt to it. I'm riding with Dark, who's Vito's teammate in the Red Bull car. Sets a purple first sector, so it's looking to be a pretty good lap. I actually thought he was going to invalidate there, but keeps it clean, just keeps it within the track limits here on Russia, so he continues on. And it's looking to be a pretty good lap from him, at least from what we can see early on. Opening the DRS, no crazy mistakes so far on this lap, so potentially a strong showing early on from the Red Bull team, as he does set a purple second sector to potentially be going fastest here in this short qualifying session. As I'm noticing more and more drivers, we have Stewart, who just joined in the session, and it's looking as though some of these drivers like ISRL Mushroom and Passassin, who joined in a little bit late, it looks like they are actually able to qualify. So you love to see that, as Dark crosses the line with a 131.114, which is good enough to take a provisional pole position here. So it's a Red Bull 1-2.
And unfortunately on my screen, Mushroom, I believe, as I looked to the stream, I believe he's showing up for me as Seb Vettel, so hopefully he's got a little bit of the German's luck in there in the car today. He's got permission to reserve for this race, so hopefully he puts on a good show. The past could be a little sketchy, so it's up to him today.
Yep, there is that little bit of history, but hopefully he can perform here around Russia to the best of his abilities, as we also know he can. And as long as he can keep it clean, keep it on the track, and not get caught up in these incidents, I'd like to expect a strong showing from Mushroom, especially riding that Sebastian Vettel Ferrari there.
Yeah, paired up with Lorenzo, ironically. It should be good.
Yep, it should be good. Now I'm trying to find somebody on a lap. Mushroom did invalidate his lap, and so does Mats, for that matter. Let's take a look. It looks like as though Krishna's on a good lap for the Renault team. Coming around the last few corners now. I'm not too sure where he's going to stand, but we'll see soon enough as he takes the last corner, crosses the line. Good enough for 5th on those soft tires, setting a 131.506. So potentially a bit more time to find, but not a bad first lap, as it puts him within within the top 5. Now I rode with
over the chat, so we're gonna have a dry race too, so weather won't be a part of it today for the guys, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, but good thing if you're a driver. Maybe not so much in terms of excitement if you're within the commentator's booth, but I'm sure we'll have a good race. But it is going to be dry, similar to the Division 3 race we had not too long ago, where weather did not play too much of a factor in that. But I'm riding with D-Morse once again, as it looks like he's got a decent lap. Did get caught up with a little bit of traffic, but does have a purple first sector nonetheless. So it's looking to be a pretty decent lap either way. Coming to that DRS detection point, that I guess relatively slow right-hander before the DRS section in the back straight of the circuit, I'll call it.
Purple sector 2, but we've known in the past could be glitchy, so we'll have to see how he finishes it out.
Yeah.
Assassin 2 on his, oh, but Assassin's invalidated, so never mind. It's a moot point at this point.
Yeah, not what we're hoping for, but I do know Russia is a little bit tricky in terms of track limits. It can be equally very forgiving, but very unforgiving, I find, depending on the corner, depending on how you take it. And Demort's nearly a 131 flat. That's a 131.079, good enough for a provisional pole position. And we're past the halfway point of qualifying now, so it's looking like a pretty solid showing from the former Division 3 driver. Showing that he's got pace to compete with the likes of the Tier 2 driver or the Division 2 drivers here for Season 4.
It's gonna take some getting used to. Like, we thought Force Indian Racing Play was bad. Ooh, wait till we have to say Tiers fast. Yeah, I even just messed up right there. I was supposed to say Division. Lord help me.
Oh yeah, it'll take. I mean, it's definitely gonna take a little bit of time, but I guess that's also what preseason is for, just to get everything ironed out, get everything worked, so we can get everything up and ready for for when we start for real next week.
Cruz just went 3rd.
Look at that, taking that Mercedes car up with a 131.165, so it's looking pretty close. And Laparkta, the first driver to break into the 130s, and he sets a 130.928. And Cohen with a 130.932. So 4 1/1000ths of a second separating Laparkta and Cohen, so nearly identical laps from the Haas driver and the oh my goodness, the Alfa Romeo driver. But it looks like the Laparkta is able to just edge out Cohen, as we also saw Jordan crossing the line. Good enough for 9th, but potentially some more pace to find before this qualifying is over. Let's actually jump to Vito.
Vito says no. Vito says no.
Yeah, so a little bit of a change in strategy for Vito this year, at least for the preseason race, as rather than qualifying near the middle, near the back of the grid, he's opting to start, looking to start from pole, as we got a nice little glitchy driving there from looked to be Valtteri Bottas, but I think that's Stewart. Setting a lap on the medium tires, it looks like, potentially looking to improve on that 133.581.
Vito's going the route of showing the guys that just remember who's the top dog around here for this season. Let the new guys know too. There's the bar. He's set it. Everybody has to simply catch it.
Oh yeah, and especially if you're Vito, you won Tier 2, or I believe, if I remember correctly, you won Tier 2 in Division 2 in Season 3. Last season, and looking very early on, as you said, to set the bar, set the minimum, saying, hey, if you want to come after me for this championship, this is what you have to do. And it doesn't look like he wants to play games even in preseason. But that's what you want to see, especially early on with this preseason. You want to take it seriously. You want to go out and be the best, and I guess flex on your opponents a little bit, so to speak.
You're in that right. The way he drove last season, the consistency the driver showed, he deserves just to show the guys, like, hey, my Saturdays, in theory, qualifying rather, might have been a little bit off-putting, but at the end of the day, he was the guy standing on top.
Oh yeah. Now, speaking of fast drivers, I'm riding with Mushroom here as he's coming down this DRS straight before the very hard-braking right-hander here. Sets a purple second sector for his trouble, but yeah, as he said, does overshoot that corner a little bit, and looks like he gets a little bit of a tank slapper coming out of that. So he will lose some time, I feel, just with that slight mistake. But depending on how the lap was and how the pace was looking, might still be a decent time. He still has yet to put anything on the board, so it's still going to be better than nothing at all, but crosses the line. Only good enough for 10th with a 131.9, but as we were saying, definite room for improvement. The question for Mushroom is whether or not he can make it around the track and you know, get around quick enough to get that last lap set before the end of qualifying.
Yeah, this will be very telling on if the drivers change. I know he's going to be in a rush to get back. I just don't think he's going to have enough time.
No, I don't think so either. But also, speaking of drivers who have yet to set a time, CRL Assassin, but there we go, he just sets a time, and that's a 1:30.945, which is good enough for 4th. So looking pretty solid for the Alfa Romeo drivers, at least early on in this preseason event, where they're sitting a provisional P3 and P4 here in these closing stages of qualifying. So pretty solid showing. But I'm also noticing out of the 3 drivers who have yet to set times, both Williams cars have do not have a time on the board just yet. But we are seeing AJ Wuhan just coming out of the pits now, so potentially looking to set a one and done time and keep some of those tires for the sake of the race. But Nathan JB opting to stay into the pits at least for the time being. But we'll have to keep an eye out to see if he's going to want to set a lap before qualifying is done.
D-Morse is on his hot lap right now. He just started going through turn 3 right now.
Let's actually jump back with D-Morse, currently sitting in 6th and looking to break into the 130s himself, just on the cusp with that 131.079.
He's half a tenth down on his lap so far. He ran into a bit of traffic, so I think... Sure, he hasn't backed out of his lap, but yeah,
no, but it looks
really
like he's still going for it. So, and look at that, Nathan JB retires from qualifying, so he's looking to start from the back of the grid, it seems, opting not to put a time on the board. Potentially looking to avoid some early incidents in the first few corners, as much as we've seen in the past here in ISRL and even just generally. Turn 1, it is just a little bit of a kink, but it can cause a lot of issues if you're not careful, as we saw in Formula Fridays, as I mentioned, as we saw in the past here with ISRL, and I'm sure it's caused issues from other drivers, but D-Morts does cross the line, and I don't think he improved, as it's still that 131.079 that is his quickest lap on the board. But if you're D-Morts, fret not, because you're still in a provisional P6 with 35 seconds to go in qualifying, so you're still put yourself in a very strong position to have a good qualifying and get a good starting position for the race. But I'm just going to be switching between Mats and AJ Wuhan, just keeping an eye on both those drivers as the only 2 who have yet to set times. And with 15 seconds to go, it's a little bit of a one and done for both of them, so they're going to want to keep it clean and make sure that they do not disqualify their laps, or else they're really not going to have a good time for the start of the race. But Mats is the lead driver of the 2 as qualifying has just ended. So we see Passassin, Faxland, Cruz, and Mushroom locking in their time. So Mushroom did not have enough time to go around and set another lap. So not the qualifying he was hoping for here in this preseason event. But let's see what Mats can do. Coming to the hard right-hander after the DRS. Takes it fairly nicely, it seems. Keeping it valid. AJ Wuhan still valid as well, as he's coming around that hard right-hander after the DRS. Equally takes it nice. But let's quickly jump to Mats, as he's got 2 corners to go, and more drivers are starting to finish their qualifying. D-Morts takes a provisional pole away from Vito. Mats crosses the line. It's a provisional P10 for him. Let's take a look at what AJ can do as he's coming around the last corner now. Dark sitting on pole now. And AJ Wuhan takes a provisional P3, but Dark is currently on pole with the 130.665. But I think Vito is on a lap, coming around the last corner. Can Vito take pole away? No, he can't. It's only going to be P4 for ISRL Vito. But that's still a pretty good lap, a 130.7. But now it's all up to Cohen, I believe, as he's got 2 corners to go. It looks like he's on a lap, keeping it valid. Currently in 6th, but can he improve? Crosses the line, and it is going to be a better time. It's a provisional P3 for Cohen, which knocks Vito down to 5th and AJ down to 4th. But Dark, at the dying stages of qualifying, as once the time was up and just had to finish his lap, comes in clutch, sets the 1:30.635, and that is good enough to start from pole position here at the Russian Grand Prix for this preseason event.
The gap between first and fifth is under a tenth.
Oh my goodness.
That's incredible.
That's crazy to see. But honestly, this is, I don't want to say it's par for the course, but when I'm looking at the gaps here between 1 second is separating P1 to P13, with, you know, half a second separating P1 to P8, and even 6/10 separating basically P1 to P11. So crazy showing here in qualifying, as, I mean, the timing is just going so quickly. I don't even have time to run through the order. I'll use the formation lap for that, but crazy qualifying here. But, you know, it's what we've come to expect for Tier 2, because I think, honestly, in Season 3, it was more of the same.
It just seems to have gotten just a tad closer as well. Like, I don't know if it's just maybe the track, maybe people have had time to practice for it, but, like, it just seems that much closer this season than even last. And even last season, it was close then, so we could be in for a treat here. What do we got? 16 races?
Yeah, definitely in for a treat. And you know what? Seeing the gaps and seeing how close everyone is, this is getting me even more excited for the race. As at least for the time being, we've got a little bit of a breather, similar to what we had last season. We're letting the drivers take a bit of a moment, get into the mindset of the race, get focused, and we're just awaiting for ISRL Jordan to give us the cue to continue on with the race. But I still can't get over that qualifying, and I still can't get over those gaps. This is going to make for a really exciting race here, I feel, if the drivers are able to keep it clean and keep it as close as they have during that qualifying.
Absolutely. Strat around here, honestly, you could pull off a one-stop. You can go medium to soft. All these guys at the front who qualified on the softs might go soft, medium, and if this is the thing we didn't experience in the Division 3 race, we didn't see a safety car, nor did we see a VSC, so nobody's strategy was altered unless some folks took wing damage. So
yeah, so we'll have to see how the strategies are going to fare out in Division 2. As you mentioned, the top 10 all set their times on the soft tires, so they're going to be forced to start on those tires. But now, as we're lining up for the formation lap, I'll take us through the grid. Just as soon as I get all of this, let's actually slap the tire info on here so we can take a look. So, as we said, Dark starting on pole in that Red Bull car on the soft tires with D-Morts after a very strong lap right at the end, starting on the front row of the grid alongside Dark in P2. Cohen in third with AJ Ruhan qualifying in fourth behind him, and Vito rounding out the top 5, but expect to keep an eye out on Vito. As he's shown, he definitely has the race pace around this circuit and any circuit. Behind Vito, we've got both Haas drivers, Laparta and Faxland qualifying 6th and 7th, so a strong showing as you've got the predicted tire stop strategy on the screen there. Cruz, the lead Mercedes car, qualifying in 8th, with Mats qualifying in 9th, all on the soft tires. Now, I just noticed this, ISRL Jordan is in 10th, but he's on the medium tires from what the game is telling me here. So, looks like he was just able to eke into the top 10 on those medium tires, so potentially running a reverse strategy to the rest of the order in that top 10. But now free choice of tires. CRL Krishna opting to choose the soft tires. Michael Fures, or as we know him, El Biku, is on the medium tires, so expect him to go a little bit longer than the rest, with Lorenzo also on the medium tires. Then we have Stewart looking for the soft, so potentially looking to gain a lot of positions on the start of the race, but going to be probably rocking a similar pit stop to the front runners here. And then behind them, all on the medium tires, we have ISRL Mushroom, Nathan JB 17, who didn't set a lap, and Passassin 72, who I thought had set a lap, but it looks like as though he is starting from the back of the grid. So maybe an invalidation, or maybe he never had a lap, and I'm just thinking of somebody else.
I can explain as well why Jordan in the top 10 is starting on the mediums, because Stewart received a 5-place grid penalty during qualifying. He actually qualified in 9th, got the 5 positions. That's why you said also you saw him out of place on the softs. Those are actually used softs he's starting on down to 14th, whereas Jordan starting 10th on brand new mediums. He had the free strategy because technically qualified 11th.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much for the clarification. I honestly, I didn't catch that at all. So thank you so much, Sunik, with the insights here as the drivers have lined up on the grid. We've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights now, waiting for them to go off, and they are off, and we are off as the drivers are leading into turn 1. It looks like Dark had a very good start. But behind them, it looks like Darks and Demort's going well, but Vito already up into 3rd, passing AJ and Laparta. But look at this. Are we going to see 4 or 5 wide around around turn 2? No, it's not, as I'm seeing Faxland and Laparta battling it out. And oh, what happened there? That's Krishna having a little bit of difficulty around turn 2, it looked like. And we have a virtual safety car for that, as Krishna's out of the race. As we just saw that on the screen, it looked like, I'm not too sure what the incident was, but we saw Krishna just losing the back end a little bit. I don't think he was able to control the car enough, but crashes into the wall, and 2 corners in, that's the end of Krishna's race. As much as it is preseason, it's not what you want to have happen. It's not a good omen to start the race, but we are actually back to racing very quickly here. As there's a yellow flag in Sector 2, as I think that might have been, was that Mats maybe that had a little bit of a trouble? No, I think that might have been Michael Fures struggling on the restart, as we're already seeing a little bit of a gap. But Cohen, not the start he wanted, falling down 4 positions from the start. So potentially, other than Krishna, the biggest loser, so to say, with the restart of that. And it looks like Mushroom had some struggles on that restart as well, as he's all the way far back with a 12-second gap to Nathan JB down the order, so gonna have to have a bit of a recovery drive for him. But still, at the end of...
I think he was the reason for that yellow flag. You guys lost a lot of damage.
What was that? At least on my end, your voice isn't necessarily all that loud, so I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Apologies. No, Mushroom had a bit of an incident, lost a chunk of wing. That's what you saw the yellow flag for in the 2nd sector, the previous lap. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I had it adjusted in the wrong direction.
That's quite all right. But no, that does explain it. But it is only lap 2 out of 27 here, so loads of time to catch back up. As I'm just awaiting for my timing tables to catch up a little bit here. It's actually showing Mushroom in the lead of the race, which is not the case here. But we're here with AJ Wuhan as he's keeping up with Demorts very closely. Thinks about making a lunge down the inside, but thinks better of it. Without the help of DRS, won't necessarily get the run he was hoping for, but he is keeping very close to Demorts, who he himself is keeping very close to Dark for the lead of the race. So, it's still anybody's to play for here early on, but it does seem as though Vito is potentially falling back maybe just a tiny little bit, but could be a little bit more conservation from Vito's standpoint, as Demorts does set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix early on with that 1:35.216. So Demorts showing he's got some pace early on here in this race. But speaking of pace, AJ Wuhan getting very close, but stuck in a little bit of a DRS train, so unable to get a move done on Demorts here on lap 3. But actually now he's going to make a lunge down the outside of the swooping left-hander. Demorts does get a little bit of better traction, but no move still not happening, as Demorts is able to hold on to that second. But through all this battling, Dark might be able to create just the tiniest little bit of a gap, which might make him a little bit more comfortable here in the lead of the race. But what happened to Cohen here?
Fighting in the back here. Oh, Cohen's had... Yeah, he's going to have a train in Lorenzo, Nathan JB, and
yeah, look at this. Almost 2x2. But looks like, and there's contact. And that looked to be Michael Furious and Passassin getting caught up in an incident between one another, as I think that was Nathan, Lorenzo, Michael Furious, and Passassin just in a nice 4-car battle, but got caught up in the incident. Now Cruz and Mats battling it out on track here. Mats had a little bit of a lockup going into the corner, but is able to just fend off Cruz for that 7th. But oh my goodness, they're so close together. Cruz going down the inside, but it turns into the outside, and that's not really a place where you see a move made.
Switched him up.
But actually, look at that, a nice little switchback to go down to the inside of the penultimate corner here, and Cruz is able to take that position away from Mats to go up into 7th, but Mats still staying close by, but might just calm down a little bit here, keep it clean, keep it steady, and try his luck once again. Oh, but he does have DRS. Let's actually jump right back to it, as we saw the Haas drivers going almost 2x2.
Oh yeah, they are 2x2 going through 3.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of a little inter-team battling between the Haas drivers for pace, Faxland and Laparta. Maybe neither one of them wanting to let the other one go through. I guess they both feel as though they have pace around this circuit, but hopefully they can keep it clean and not take each other out, because that would be the worst case scenario for the Haas teammates there. But it looks like it has calmed down just a tiny little bit, as Faxland in 5th, Laparta in 6th, but crucially they have been keeping up with Vito, and as I said, the gap between Vito and AJ Wuhan, Vito's fallen down nearly 2 seconds now between him and AJ, who it seems as though the top 3 have started to run away just a tiny little bit here from the rest of the grid.
No one can really get the move done on the other, and Vito's unfortunately fallen back, so Faxland's all over the back of him. As soon as could all rejoin together again soon after pit stops as well.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, with the as I mentioned, with the pit stops and the different strategies we're seeing, we could see the groups joining again. But I'm going to keep an eye out. Nathan, JB, and Lorenzo, they're still battling it out very close to one another, both on the medium tires, both looking to go a little bit longer. And actually, Demorts and AJ are battling it out. Oh no, what happened here? That's, oh my goodness, Demorts off circuit, struggling to get back on, and he's falling down the order now, down into 10th, as he is able to get back on track safely, but still going from P2 down to P10. And Asunik, it looks like you saw that happen, at least from what I could gauge with your reactions. Give us a little bit of insight for those watching at home.
AJ Wuhan and Demore side by side into two into 1. They just had a little bit of like side pod touching, and Demort's lucked out of it, hit the inside wall, has massive wing damage, and his race just pretty much, barring any Sergio Perez-like races, I think his race is pretty much over, unfortunately.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Demorts, we are seeing him fall down the order. We did see some end plate damage for him, which is definitely slowing him down, and I would not be surprised if he's going to have to go into the pits and get that wing damage changed and get a new front wing. But it is only lap 5 out of 27, so still 22 more laps to go, or about 21 more laps to go now. So as much as it's unfortunate, there still is room to catch up and make a push. You just got to keep your head down and honestly maybe hope for a little bit of luck as well.
Yeah, you know who's not lucky is just reading the stream. Mushroom has a glitch where his fuel and his ERS are stuck on max, so he's had a bit of trouble with the traction because the engine just wants to go. He's already had to make 3 stops trying to conserve it, but he's unlucky.
Yeah, very unlucky for Mushroom. It's always unfortunate, especially when it's nothing you've done. It's just the game having a little bit of a glitch in that sense. So not the race, not what he was hoping for. But as mentioned, it is preseason, so as much as you want to come out, get that nice mindset for the start of the race. Even if you are caught up in a little bit of an incident, caught up with not the best showing, The points also equally, it's not like the points matter here with this preseason race. So there is at least that for consolation.
Oh my! AJ Wuhan and Dark had a Cummings together.
Yep, I saw that. They got very close to one another. It looked like there might have been a little bit of contact, and I just noticed that AJ Wuhan is missing a little bit of an end plate piece on that on the left side of his front wing. So we'll have to
Dark
see.
got loose, lost the rear end a bit, and unfortunately AJ Wuhan right into the back of him.
Yep, so not what we're hoping for, and as I'm seeing a yellow flag in Sector 2, and it looks like somebody did have a little bit of a little bit of struggle. That might have been Demord's race going from bad to worse there. But on screen, we're seeing AJ, putting the pressure on Dark now. Gap down to 0.3 of a second. So are we going to see an overtake within the next few corners here? Potentially with the help of DRS, as it looks like AJ is starting to get into a bit of a groove now around the circuit here at Sochi, and is starting to put the pressure on Dark.
It's got to be a fight in that cockpit for AJ Wuhan, seeing the massive wing damage he has because of the contact with Dark. He's gonna have to absolutely wheel the crap out of that. Especially when following as close as he is, just the aero wash is gonna make it almost impossible to drive, but yet he's doing an impressive job.
So Ferry doing an impressive job, especially considering that behind him as well is Dark's teammate Vito, who is in third after getting that very nice start from fifth up into third. As on the screen, we're seeing Passassin making a lunge down the inside of Lorenzo, and it looks like he is able to keep it clean and get the overtake done to bring himself up into 11th, which demotes Lorenzo down into 12th. But that was a nice clean move from Passassin with the help of DRS to get that overtake done. And now he's going to try to catch up to Nathan JB to try to secure a top 10. But quickly, I want to jump back. AJ Wuhan going down the inside of Dark. They're still side by side through turn 2, it looks like. But it looks as though AJ is able to get the better traction out of the exit of turn 2 and able to hold on to the lead. So AJ now leading the race in that Williams car, with Dark being demoted down into second. But thankfully for Dark, he does have his teammate behind him, which can bring a little bit of a comfort, as maybe he can focus on the driver ahead and leave the driver behind to his teammate, as the driver behind of Faxland is still very close, under a second to catch up.
Yeah, Dark's tires seem to be dropping off a cliff, because Vito, as we saw before when it was the three guys in D-Morts, AJ Wuhan and Dark battling, Vito started to drop back, but served his tires, and now look at him. And AJ Wuhan, especially with the wing damage, Vito possibly eat him up. And
yep, and speaking of, Vito did actually just eat Dark up and has promoted himself up into second. So maybe a little bit of a switch here between the Red Bull drivers. It didn't look like they lost too much time. So now Vito is going to look to close the gap up to AJ, and Dark is going to be the driver behind and look to keep back the Haas of Faxland. As now the gaps are starting to show back up on screen after spending a lap without them. And what's going on over here? Okay, that's Stewart going into the pits, and is that Cohen having a little bit of a struggle in Sector 3? As that's Michael Furious out of the race, and that's actually going to bring out a full safety car. So, based on what I can see on the minimap, it looks as though Michael Ferres maybe took a little bit too much speed in with the DRS into turns 12, turn 13, and just completely missed the breaking point of turn 13, and potentially just clipped the wall. And the game being funky like that, when you clip the wall, depending on the angle you take it, it's very easy to knock that tire off and end the race.
Yeah, for these soft runners, this is smack dab in the pit window where you're gonna. I don't understand.
Well, exactly. It's exactly what we're hoping for. And
what trading places?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah, you saw that as well.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Now they're just stuck in this proverbial you gotta pass, I gotta pass, and it's
Yep,
just
and crucially this,
mass.
oh no!
Yeah,
Like, what
it
is
was gonna
going on
happen.
here? Did Faxline have third before the safety car, or did the game just do what the game likes to do sometimes?
Yes, he probably got. It's just. Thank God this is preseason. We know some things to go over during the upcoming week to get ready for the first race. But that's Matt, through no fault of his own, is just going to lose a bunch of time. Because I was going to say they're right in the pit
Yeah, well,
window.
that's what I was gonna mention. That between all that, I guess, due to lack of a better term, I'll call it the kerfuffle between Faxline and Dark. That's probably, to be honest, neither one of their faults. Mats was just an unfortunate victim of that, just being so close, caught
Oh,
up to them, and just due to the
now
safety car, unable to make the overtake. Oh, and it's bad to worse for Matt as he got caught up in traffic, with the traffic in the pit lane here. As since you were mentioning, the timing was perfect for the safety car, for the soft runners to essentially get that free pit stop onto the medium tires, because based on the strategy, it was always right around lap 10 that you would be pitting either way to get off the soft tires on the mediums, anywhere between lap 10 and 14. And I'll be honest, those medium tires can definitely do 17 laps to the end of the race without any problems, and
may
that I can tell you for a fact.
may I speculate for but a moment with you?
Please.
Now, we saw this little incident. We were just in shock. Like, here's my theory about maybe what just happened. Maybe Dark, knowing. Now, who's Dark's teammate? The leader of the race. How close were they? They were separated by one position. Dark slowing way far down under safety car because he's not trying to double stack. Because you saw how busy the pit entry was with all the cars coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was pitting. Like I said, it's right in the window. And maybe Dark slowed down. Faxlin wasn't having it, and then they got that because we saw that the pit stops between the Red Bulls magically turned into a pretty seamless double stack. So I don't. Maybe it's a little bit of controversy. I don't know. I'm just speculating,
Potentially.
but
I mean, potentially. I guess we won't have any way of, I guess, essentially proving that unless,
seems
I mean,
convenient.
unless they come
Think
out and
about it.
say it. But that's some good speculation there. But hmm.
Oh, we got Albico on the stream saying he had a tank slapper in the braking zone of the second DRS zone, the same crash as Carlos Sainz Jr. Well, a little bit of insight what happened for the reason for the safety car. It's unfortunate for Albico, but
Yep. So there you
get the
have it.
cobwebs off now, boys.
Yep, that's the thing. As I mentioned before, it is preseason, so the points don't matter here. So there is that to be happy about, but still, in terms of the official start of the quote unquote start of season 4, not the start we're hoping for, but at the same time we can get an early-ish start on next weekend where it counts for real, and we can probably expect to see a strong showing for the first race of the season for all these drivers, I would think. As we're still here under safety car on lap 11 for at least one more lap. Hopefully it's just one
Bjorn
more lap.
Visser asking if you can pull up the tire data
Yeah, of course. Of course I'm trying something new here in here for season 4 in terms of not removing some of the clutter on the screen as the lap data, especially now with the penalties showing, it does take up a lot of the screen. So I mean, those in the chat, let me know. Do you prefer it? Do you like it better when I keep the tire data up the entire time? Do you like it when I get rid of it? Let me know, so I can hopefully better the stream experience for everyone as season 4 carries on. But crucially, looking at the tire data now that it's up, top 6 all on medium tires, but Jordan on the soft tires, so a fresh set of soft tires for Jordan. So expect to see him potentially get a few moves done on the restart with that better grip.
I don't know about that, but it's a bold move. You could, I mean, it's a lot to ask for soft.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll go to the end. But if he can get the pace on the restart where everyone is close together, as the safety car is coming in this lap, so we will be under green flag racing for the start of lap 12. But I mean, if Jordan can get the better grip on the safety car restart, it is a very slow final corner before crossing the line, so this could potentially play into Jordan's advantage. And if he can get a couple quick overtakes, then he can potentially try to build up a gap for if and when he does potentially have to pit that second time to get off the soft tires. But
hey, maybe he makes it to the end. Maybe he pulls. That would be extraordinary.
I mean, I'd be shocked if he makes it to the end, but we'll find out here soon enough, as we are going back to racing. Let me jump back to the leaders, as it looks as though Vito does get a decent start here to AJ. Yeah, it looks like everyone's restarting relatively cleanly here. No crazy position changes, but
see Jordan has just the superior grip right now compared to the others.
So as I was mentioning, look at that. Look at how he's closing up on Laparta, but just can't get the move done around the inside. Nathan JB and Passassin battling it out. Nathan JB actually has to go a little bit wide in order to get through that corner, but they're still side by side. Oh, a little bit of a tank slapper from Passassin as they touch side pods there a little bit, so that's going to be just what Nathan needs, just to create the tiniest of gaps.
That going slowly.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, it was just a Mercedes going slowly. Nathan JB's just almost run up the rear of him. So.
Yeah, I think that's Stewart maybe struggling to get the heat in the tires on those medium tires, because Cruz overtook him, and now look at how close Nathan JB is to get an overtake done. Will he actually get it done here on this lap? It doesn't look like it's going to be the case, as Stewart now starting to get a bit more of a handle on the car. The grip is starting to click in a little bit, but Nathan with those soft tires still looking to hunt down Stewart and work his way up the order. But Jordan, as I was mentioning, with the soft tires, already gained one spot in the 6th and right up along back of Matt, as oh no, Stewart having a little bit of fun doing some donuts on the penultimate corner there, almost going into the pits once again for his troubles, but is able to continue out on track, but definitely has the heat in his tires now, as Jordan up into 5th, overtook Matt's in the lead up to turn 2, it seemed. So Matt's down into 6th, and Laparta now looking to close up the gap. We're going to have to watch out for Cruz, who's right behind, looking to get an overtake done himself. But it's still Vito leading the way, with AJ Wuhan in 2nd, and Faxland rounding out the top 3.
Jordan's cruising right now. But he can't take the life out of those tires if he wants to bring him to the end. The way he's pushing him.
Oh wow, I was just going to say, look at Laparta and Cruz going at it. A lovely dance over the last few corners, and it looks as though Cruz is able to get the better of Laparta for the time being. But now Laparta's got to watch out for Nathan JB on the soft tires, right behind, 0.2 of a gap. Are we going to see a lunge? No, we're not. Keeping it cautious here, as it's only lap 13 out of 27. And I just noticed the Cruz's teammate Stewart not having the race he was hoping for. He does DNF. I believe that was in the pit lane, as I'm not seeing his car out anywhere on track. But I could be wrong here.
Jordan going to get dark here as well.
Let's actually jump
absolutely.
Let's take a look. Yep, there we go. There we have it. So it looks like that the soft tire pit strategy is currently paying off for Jordan, as he's up into 4th after restarting, what was it, in 7th, I think it was. So he's already gained 3 positions, and still, look how close he is. He can actually see the leader, Vito, from his cockpit there, as you can see those 3 cars, and he's got a purple first sector for his troubles too. So really showing a lot of pace is Jordan, as he might be able to make a push for the lead of the race here in these middle stages. But speaking of the lead of the race, AJ now putting the pressure on Vito. You can see how close he is. Now, potentially with the help of DRS, we'll look in the back. He's got it open now. Will he be able to get the overtake done? Well, right on board as he's closing the gap. They're both on the medium tires. Thinks about it, but no. Going to think better of it. But oh, yeah, as Vito going deep, as you said. Nice little switchback to give AJ the inside line. And he is going to make a lunge down the inside. Clips the curb a little bit. And it looks like he is able to get the move to stick. So Vito falling down into second. Is that Faxland that thought about making a lunge, but no, was way too far back. So Vito is going to keep his second place for now, but for how long?
Jordan
as it's
licking
looking,
his chops.
Yeah, Jordan now setting that fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So flying on those soft tires, but can he close up to Faxland and close up to Vito? Vito gets close, but not close enough to get the overtake done. Now I'm going to jump quickly to Cruz. Nathan, JB, and LaParca right behind, actually. Nathan, JB getting an overtake done, so he's up into eighth. And LaParca, and oh, what happened to Cohen? He's retired in the pit lane.
Sorry.
So I'm not too sure what happened to Cohen. Maybe just not happy with his preseason outings. So we're going to get an early start on next week's preparation. But that's the end of his race on lap 15. So already only 12 laps to go here of the Grand Prix. And I feel like they've just been flying by with all the action and all the close racing we've had so far. But Cruz closing up on Mats. But now, crucially, AJ Wuhan able to grow the gap to over a second now to ISRL Vito. So AJ in the lead, setting a purple second sector for his trouble, but now is looking to be in a bit more of a control of the race, as Vito potentially having to focus more on the driver behind a Faxland rather than the driver in front. But also, speaking of Faxland, I know it's only lap 15 out of 27, but what a showing from the Haas driver on his debut here with ISRL. I mean, not knowing too much of him, having a strong qualifying showing and consistently racing in these top positions. It's what you love to see from these new drivers. So hopefully this is a sign of things to come from Faxland and potentially another driver that can bring it to some of these big guns for when the season starts for real. But I'm going to have to quickly speak here. Nathan JB overtaking Cruz to go up into 7th. So Nathan JB on the soft tires showing he's got some pace now, but actually goes a little bit wide. So Cruz might actually be able to take advantage of that as he's down the inside. They're so close, but it looks as though Nathan JB just gets a little bit of better traction with the soft tires and is able to hold on to that P7 as he's going to try to close up to Mats now. But still has about half a second gap to do so before he can think about trying to make a move for that P6.
Some close battles here, but just being everyone separated by just little bits of DRS trains.
Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like we've got basically the top 5 also close to one another. And then from 6 to 10, equally so close to one another. But not to say the gap is all that big between 5th and 6th. It's just, a 1.5 second gap to, half second gaps. But there's just there's moves, there's action everywhere on track. Just, you gotta not blink or else you might miss the next overtake happen.
Yeah, Mats is slowly closing the gap here at dark too, so we could see those two packs cars come together. Well, more so dark, losing touch with the top 4s. Jordan still can't get by Faxland.
Yeah, Jordan, I just jumped on board with him, getting very close, but unable to get the overtake done. And I think crucially, Jordan might be starting to feel just the tiniest little bit of wear on those soft tires, as they're probably, yeah, they're 6 laps old, but I would say they're probably past their peak performance. The peak performance window. I mean, they're still performing. I'm not seeing him necessarily struggle for grip, but it doesn't look like he has that oomph that he had just a few laps ago when he was overtaking the likes of Dark, Mats, Nathan, and making it seemingly look. I mean, he made it look easy with those overtakes.
Yeah, and he has little to no ERS left. Neither does Faxon, Vito and AJ Wuhan sitting comfortably.
Yeah, but that's from what I was going to mention too. Speaking of AJ Wuhan, the gap now up to 2 seconds between AJ and Vito. So AJ showing he's got incredible amounts of pace, or a really good pace, I would say, here around Sochi. And potentially this could be a sign of things to come. As we were talking about in qualifying, Vito went and set some quick laps and said basically, come at me. You want to take this championship? Come at me for it. And AJ so far in the race is saying, okay, I'll come at you, bro. But speaking of overtakes, Faxland looking to make a lunge with Vito, but actually has a little bit of trouble doing it. And this is actually what Jordan needed to get the overtake done. So Faxland made a gamble on the move. Oh, and now there's some contact between Faxland and Jordan. Thankfully, nobody got spun out from it, but Jordan up into third with Faxland falling down into fourth. So that attempted move on Vito on turn 2 actually did not work out too well for him. It actually worked against him, as he actually lost a position after that attempted move, where Jordan just saw the opportunity and didn't think twice of it, as he's up into third and now only 4/10 behind Vito for second.
I really want to see Jordan get to the end on these tires. It's just, I just don't think it's plausible.
No, well that's the thing. I really don't think he can. There's 9 laps to go, but there are already 7 laps old, and the softs normally go around 10 laps or so, I would say. So I do feel as though Jordan is going to have to pit maybe one more time before the end of the race. But still, it's a strong second stint, as after the safety car restart, he was only down in 7th, but now currently in a podium. And look at that, making a move on Vito to go up into second. So what's happening to Vito here in this Russian Grand Prix, as I'm struggling to find my words, as he's down into third, and Faxland looking to make a move down the outside just is not able to get it done, but it's going to switch over towards the inside now, but no, just doesn't have that traction, so Vito is able to hold on to third. But I'll be honest, this isn't really Vito-esque, I guess you could say, to be losing positions. Normally he's on the other side of that, just getting these overtakes done to fight for the win and fight for the podium. But it feels like now he's kind of holding on for dear life to the likes of Faxland, who's trying everything he can to overtake that Red Bull car.
Yeah, the top 7 separated by less than 6 seconds, almost 5.5 seconds, from Nathan JB to AJ Wuhan, his teammate.
Yeah, but that's it's crazy gaps, and now we're even seeing Mats and Nathan closing up very quickly to dark now for this to make this basically a nice 6-car battle from second all the way down. But speaking of the soft tire, we were talking about pit stops. It's not Jordan going into the pits, but that's Nathan JB opting to take a pit stop to get off the soft tires. So for here on lap 20, we're gonna start seeing some pit stops sooner rather than later if you're on the soft tires. Prix actually pitting onto the soft tires, but we'll have to see what Nathan chooses to put on here, as he chooses another set of soft tires to take to the end of the race.
Jordan's gonna see a huge drop off here.
Oh yeah, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Jordan chooses to go into the pits at the end of this lap. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Now we're seeing, I'm seeing Vito's, well, the gaps are staying relatively equal. I thought they were closing, but they've been right around half a second. But I think it's just the matter of we're kind of stuck in a bit of a DRS train between a lot of these cars. No one able to get an advantage over anybody else, just because they're all getting DRS on one another. So they're just they're just training around the circuits. So we're just hoping for mistakes. but we can see now the gap just closing to about 0.4 of a second now. So Jordan, I think, is starting to feel it, and I noticed a little bit of oh yeah, you can definitely see the loss of grip here in Sector 3, but crucially he's staying out for at least one more lap. So I'm not sure if so I guess Jordan may be looking to go for one more lap, feeling he can still push, potentially just biding his time, and might just pit once he loses that first position. But look at this battle, so close, so many cars close together, and that was Mats that thought about making a move down the inside of Dark. Thinks better of it, but now gets slightly better traction around this swooping left-hander and makes it look easy as Dark falls down into 6th now, as Mats brings his way up into 5th. So it's almost looking as though Dark, after showing he had immense qualifying pace, maybe not having that consistency around the race here around Sochi, in order to keep that podium and keep that high ranking, that high position. But still, a P6 is a strong place to be, and he's still keeping the gap very close to Mats for 5th, but there's still, everyone's just training one another. But meanwhile, AJ is he's just having his own race. 3 seconds now, the gap between him and Jordan for 1st and 2nd. So barring any penalties, I think AJ can just keep his head down, just focus on his own race, focus on keeping it clean. And if he's keeping up the pace, he should be pretty golden here for a strong finish.
These top 2nd, 6th. Assassin's starting to make up some ground on these guys as well. He's on the hard. He'll have better tires towards the end, but he's actually pulled the gap down quite a bit.
Yep, up to a little bit under 3 seconds. I'm seeing 2.8. As just jumping back up, Vito thinking about making a move on Jordan, but thinks a little bit better of it, and he's gonna have to watch out for Faxland. As actually, I want to just ride with Faxland, as both him and Vito getting very close. Faxland actually just had nowhere to go, but actually is able to overtake Vito, as Vito just got caught in the inside line, looking to make a move on Jordan, but just wasn't able to. But now is getting caught up in a battle with Mats, and it looks like Mats is well, who's actually going to get ahead? It looks like it is Mats that's going to get ahead, but takes a bit of an interesting line doing so, going through that corner, and we saw he got the 3-second time penalty for his troubles there too. But Vito falling down to 5th, as he's not feeling comfortable on those medium tires either.
Jordan's a sitting duck here.
Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, you're seeing Faxland making what the hell? Oh my goodness, was that just Jordan hitting the wall himself, or was there a little bit of contact there?
There's contact there.
Oh, that's not what you want to see. I know it is a little bit funky there with turn 12, the I guess a little bit of a kink. As we've seen, the kinks here on Russia are are a little bit more tricky than meets the eye. As finally now here on lap 23, at the start of lap 23, Jordan is going into the pits to get off of those soft tires and get a fresh set of boots on for the last few laps. Maybe push for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix in these dying stages. As I suspected, he is going on another set of soft tires.
Dark takes a penalty.
Yep, so that's going to be another 3 seconds added on to his time. As speaking of fastest laps, that's Nathan JB currently in 9th. He sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far on lap 23.
Assassin's caught right up to those guys.
Oh my goodness, yeah, from 2.8 seconds up to just about a second now. So look at the pace Assassin's showing on those hard tires. So we might actually just now be potentially in that changeover period where the hard tires are just starting to have a bit more pace than the medium tires, or maybe it's just more the pace Assassin has in that Alfa Romeo car. But from it seems like within the span of a lap and a half, he closed up 2 seconds, if not more. And gonna be looking to make a move sooner rather than later on Dark, because he's actually right up in his gearbox now,
he's on for a podium if he can get this done.
Honestly, especially with I mean, Dark's showing his pace is falling off a little bit. Vito is struggling for pace here in this preseason race, and even as much as Mats has a little bit of pace, it's not it's not nearly the type of pace Assassin is showing. But I mean, of course, there's only 3 laps to go now already here in this race, as Vito actually gets an overtake on Mats with the help of DRS. So Vito goes back up into a podium-paying position as Mats falling down the order. But is Mats going to try to make a bit of a move down the inside? No, he's not, as I think Vito just is able to create enough of a gap there. So that is a little bit of a change-up, but now all of these drivers are going to have to watch out for Assassin on those hard tires, who's now down to nearly 0.3 of a second behind Dark. So it seems like it's only going to be a matter of time before this move is done. And oh, look at that on your screen. Assassin very nicely doesn't waste any time overtaking Dark to go up into 5th. So already 1 move down, and already looking poised and primed to overtake Mats, potentially with the help of DRS. As we'll actually give the onboard here. Is he going to close up enough? No, I don't think he will, but we'll get right up onto the gearbox here on turn 13-14 to set himself up hopefully very nicely for the next lap. But now, but crucially now, if you're Vito, you might be happy watching Mats and Assassin battling it out, as it looks like Nathan is able to overtake Lorenzo elsewhere on track fairly quickly. Nathan really putting some hot laps in on those soft tires, similar to what we're probably going to be seeing Jordan do as well. But as I mentioned, with Mats now battling with Assassin for P4, P5, as you can see them getting very close to one another, I was going to say Vito should be able to create a gap, but it doesn't look like that's actually happening as much as I thought here on lap 25. But look how close Assassin's getting. Just can't get the move done on Mats.
Yeah, it's almost as if Mats is just holding him up. There's more pace in that Alfa Romeo for Assassin. Just,
oh yeah,
you can patient.
You can see Assassin just trying everything he can to get that better pace, getting very close to that McLaren car. But sorry, go on.
As it stands now, Assassin is in a net P3 due to penalties. Vito with 9 and Mats with 6. And also, AJ Wuhan has 3 seconds and Faxland has none. So Faxland being 4.9, he's got 2 laps to bring that down by 2 seconds.
But it is also, in terms of the gap between P1 and P2, crucially, as much as Faxland's got to bring that gap down, he does have the penalty advantage. It almost looks as though AJ is just growing that gap lap after lap, because it's up to 5 seconds now compared to what seemed to be the 4.5 seconds it was at not too long ago. But now I'm looking on the track as we're starting lap 26. As much as Assassin's trying to get a move done on Mats, I'm gonna quickly jump to another battle. That's Dark. He's had a tough race here, just falling down the order. And is he gonna fall down the order again? Yes, it looks like that is the case, as Assassin was able to overtake Mats, and Laparta was able to overtake Dark through into turn 2. But now Assassin, after getting the overtake done on Mats, will he be able to close up and get the overtake done on Vito? With enough time here, because we're on lap 26 on the penultimate lap here. So we'll have to see if Assassin wants to get the move done on track.
Has dropped off the pace too. Vito's got the gap down to under a second.
Oh my, look at that. So yeah, maybe Faxland's starting to feel the wear of the tires. But yeah, oh my goodness. Because that's the thing, the gap was up to, what was it, 1.5 seconds, nearly 2 seconds I think it was, but now Vito brought it back to nearly half a second. So what's going on with Faxland? As we just saw Faxland lock up going into that hard right-hander of turn 13. So maybe Faxland, as I mentioned, just really feeling the wear of the tires. But if you're Vito, this is what you, well, in a way, this is what you want. To get right up for that battle for P2, but Vito does have some penalties on the board from what I can see, so it might not matter too much, as we are starting the final lap here, as AJ Wuhan still leading the way in the gap now between first and second up to nearly 6 seconds, as we have a yellow flag in sector 2, and but I think that might be ISRL Mushroom just slowing down a little bit here. So nothing to be worried too much about.
For all it's worth, Vito is pushing like hell to get Faxon.
Yeah, putting everything you can into that car to get the overtake done here on the last lap. Gap down to 0.3 seconds, so 3/10 to close up. He's gonna be approaching the DRS section very shortly here, but we'll see if he can just get enough traction, get enough pace. You can see on the steering wheel he's got a tiny little bit of DRS to use, but nothing too crazy. And it looks as though Faxland might just be able to hold on to that P2 on track, as Vito getting close, but not close enough into what's probably the biggest overtaking zone. Same idea for Mats, as he got close but not close enough. As we've got a yellow flag, but that's just ISRL Mushroom retiring here by the end of the race. But let's jump to the race winner. It looks like AJ Wuhan as he crosses the line in first to take the victory here provisionally, and I think it will stand as Faxland crosses the line in second. Vito takes third, but falls down the orders. Passassin takes the podium on penalties. Mats up into fourth, Vito in fifth, with Laparta crossing in sixth, and Dark crossing the line in style, but it's only going to be a P7 for his work, as he struggled here for race pace around the circuit. Nathan in eighth, with Lorenzo in ninth, with a little bit of a collision with Dark's car there crossing the line. But there you have it, as the final drivers do cross the line. But what a race that was, and honestly it felt like as if it just flew by here, as we're seeing Passassin getting driver of the day. As far as the game is concerned, unsurprising given he started from the back of the grid and worked his way up to I believe it was a P3, a nice podium. But there we have it. Nice little dance there from the race winner, as he takes a step of the podium, enjoys the champagne, enjoys Bassin it all, and as he wins the preseason event here at the Russian Grand Prix.
Assassin, didn't he? He had to start at the back too because of that glitch. Look at the 17th to 3rd.
There we go. So taking us through the order, as I said, AJ Wuhan takes the win here from 4th. Faxland in 2nd, starting in 7th. Passassin up on the final step of the podium after starting in P17. What a drive. With Mats coming in 4th. Vito rounds out the top 5, finishing the same place he qualified. Laparta in 6th, and Dark, after qualifying on pole, finishing in 7th, so not the race he was hoping for. Nathan JB in 8th, Jordan in 9th, Lorenzo rounds out the top 10. Cruz comes in 11th, Mushroom in 12th, Cohen 13th, Stewart 14th, Michael Fierce 15th, Demort 16th, and I just didn't get to see the last name in 17th. Krishna rounds out the order as as the screen just fades away. But Stunek, honestly, that was a really exciting, that was a great race. But any closing remarks for this preseason race here?
Well, barring anything we're gonna see for maybe Tier 1 later on this afternoon, Tier 2 might, Division 2 might be the hottest thing this season. Those gaps there throughout the entirety of the race. Somebody just, as we saw Assassin, like anybody with one little penalty there could cost you even just 3 seconds while no one around you has nothing. Could cost you 3 or 4 spots. Tight racing, close racing, and you just love to see that. And look forward to the actual start of the season next week in Austria.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. Close gaps in qualifying, close gaps through the entirety of the race. So if this is what we're seeing in preseason, strap in for what we're gonna see here for the once the season kicks off for good. But that's gonna do it here for us for the Tier 2, the Division 2 preseason event. But don't go anywhere. Make sure to tune in what's going to be about 40 minutes time for the Division 1 race here around the Russian Grand Prix for their preseason event, which will be hosted by, which should be ISRL X and myself in the commentator's booth. But for us here with Division 2, until next week, I've been Fallen Monkeys, and on behalf of Asunik and everybody else at ISRL Esports, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next time. Have a fantastic evening.